Hello and welcome to ThePrint. Today I shall be speaking to you about end states. Before embarking on a journey, one must be clear of the destination. The journey is not an end by itself, but a means to an end. Nowhere is this truer than when it comes to the matter of prosecuting military operations as part of the grand strategy of a nation. If the end states, that is, the desired aims or outcomes, are uncertain or ill-defined, then there is every possibility of getting bogged down in a never-ending and unwinnable battle. In military appreciations, this boils down to the end ways means template, with the end, that is the aim, being a military or politico-military objective in pursuance of a political aim. The means, that is the resources, are well known and finite and automatically limit the scope of the aim. The various ways to achieve the aim then lie in the realm of strategy, and this too will be limited by various political and humanitarian considerations. This template is a dynamic one and will determine the courses of action a nation might adopt in pursuance of its national interest or as a response to any threat to its territorial integrity or sovereignty. What is important to note, though, is that irrespective of the course chosen, there always has to be an exit strategy should things not go according to plan. In 1971, faced with the depredations and atrocities at the hands of the Pakistani army, millions of refugees from erstwhile East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, poured into India. The cost of housing and feeding these refugees was estimated at $700 million and was causing a drain on the Indian economy. The aim, therefore, was to create conditions for the return of these refugees to their homeland. This could be achieved by peaceful, that is, political and diplomatic ways, but if not successful, the military option was also open, which ultimately we had to take recourse to. The Indian Armed Forces succeeded in capturing the whole of East Pakistan and the creation of a new nation, Bangladesh, to where the displaced persons could return to. However, had the liberation of the entire Bangladesh not been successful, as long as sufficient swaths of territory were captured to where the refugees could return, it would still have achieved the political aim. There was, therefore, an inbuilt exit strategy or fallback option. The Indian involvement in Sri Lanka from 1987 to 1990, as a result of the Indo-Sri Lanka Accord, was a totally different story. The Indian Peacekeeping Force, IPKF, as the name suggests, was sent to maintain the peace and to act as a buffer between the Sri Lankan army and various Tamil militant groups. There was, however, in no time at all, the IPKF found itself battling the very same groups it was sent in to protect. There was no clear-cut political or military aim, and certainly no exit strategy. When the IPKF returned after suffering almost 1,200 casualties, there was nothing to show for their efforts, neither in the political realm nor in the military arena. The two ongoing conflicts, the first between Ukraine and Russia and the second between Israel and Hamas, similarly show a lack of direction. What were the political military objectives and the envisioned end state when Russia began its special military operations? Close to 2 years since the operation was launched in February 2022, it remains anybody's guess. With the war getting stalemated, there does not seem to be any exit strategy on either side, except to throw in more and more troops into battle, cannon fodder, in the vain hope of wearing the other side down. There seems to be a lack of statesmanship to seek a face-saving compromise that would at least bring a temporary halt to hostilities. The situation in Gaza is no different. What did Hamas hope to achieve by this blatant act of terrorism? Surely, they would have anticipated a disproportionate response. Or were they surprised by their own success? Retribution was swift in coming, and Israel launched Operation Swords of Iron using all the means at their disposal. Their response, considering the savagery of the Hamas attack, is understandable, but most of the victims are civilians caught in the crosshairs. It once again begs the question, what is the end state of Operation Swords of Iron? And are there any intermediary stages which, if achieved, would give a notion of victory? Perhaps the unconditional release of all the hostages could pave the way for a truce. There are many lessons to be learned as far as India is concerned. India is no stranger to such brazen terrorist strikes and has responded appropriately when provoked. However, these were more to assuage public sentiment and did little to solve the problem per se. In June 2015, India launched Operation Hot Pursuit astride the Myanmar-India border in response to the killing of 18 soldiers of the Indian Army in Manipur by terrorists of the NSCN-K, reportedly killing between 30 to 40 of their cadres. While the operation was a success, Indian insurgent groups continue to thrive in camps in Myanmar. Similarly, the Indian Air Force launched Operation Bandar, that is preemptive airstrikes on terrorist training infrastructure at Balakot in response to the terrorist attack at Pulwama in February 2019 on a convoy of the CRPF in which 40 personnel were killed. Quite like the Indian current Israeli operation, this response was equally necessitated due to the sheer number of casualties, as it was a stab to our collective consciousness. Something had to be done. The Air Force rose to the occasion, but what was achieved in the long run? Would our response have been the same if the number of deaths had been only 3 or 4, part of routine operations as continue to occur even now? And did our response solve the problem, or was it just a knee-jerk reaction to a grave provocation? India is likely to face many such provocations in the future, in all dimensions, land, sea, and air, as starkly brought out by the hijacking of an India-bound ship, the Japanese-operated Galaxy Leader, by Houthi rebels in the Red Sea on 19th November. The need of the hour, therefore, is for India to be able to anticipate the likely threats and plan, prepare, and rehearse for the responses thereto, rather than improvise after an event has occurred. The latter course runs the risk of getting sucked into an escalating spiral of violence. A swift, punitive, targeted strike will have much greater impact than a larger, long-drawn operation weeks or months later. This is General Naravane for ThePrint.